One.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Locker Room Readout. I'm Chris Murray, one of your co-hosts, along with Irie Harris, my man Irie Harris, and of course the beauteous and the lovely Saphyr Blue. Yes, yes, ma'am. All right, so and you're welcome back to Locker Room Readout on the BGC Sports Network. But we got a lot to talk about. But before we do any of those things, we got to do what Kumo D once said: pay the bills. So I got to ask you a question: are you looking for a relaxing getaway where you can play all day and escape the tedious grind of life? Then plan your getaway today at Lake Crest Casino and Hotel, Ardmore's premier gaming destination, and let the winning begin. Featuring more than 1,000 of the latest games, plus an array of amenities, including an incredible restaurant, exceptional retail experiences, and a resort-style pool. Lake Crest offers everything you need for an unforgettable escape and a winning experience. Book your stay today and go all in on one of the area's most exciting destinations, Lake Crest Casino and Hotel. Visit lakecrest.com. That's lakecrestcasino.com. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back to this. Now, there was a point that I wanted to make about, and I'll make this real quick, about, you, Saphyr, responding to the fact that you're talking about how, Ohio is going to get in this new dome stadium. I feel bad for working class people in sports because they're making these stadiums way too expensive for the average person to afford. The average person can't afford a luxury suite and all that. And then, too, you take away the most important advantage the Cleveland Browns have ever had, and that's home field, the outdoor home field advantage. Ask Minnesota and Detroit, and to a certain extent in Indianapolis or even Los Angeles and whatnot, about home field advantage. You want your team. You want people to come in intimidated in the cold weather. You want that, especially for West Coast teams or teams from Florida. So that's my $1.50 take on that. And so I got to ask some questions regarding the WNBA, because the latest controversy, of course, in the WNBA is the All-Star game and Caitlyn Clark again. Earlier this week, Dick Vitale, or late last week, Dick Vitale, the famous men's college basketball commentator, basically said that this is all about jealousy when Caitlyn Clark was voted as the ninth best guard by her colleagues or fellow players in the WNBA, even though fans voted her number one. And he called it out and out, jealousy and all that. And I gotta ask you guys a question to start, and I'm gonna start with you first, Saphyr, and then we work it back to Irie. Was this jealousy, or was it? I mean, is this fair? Because the only thing that Caitlyn Clark is leading in right now is, or she's not even leading. She's like maybe second or third in the league in terms of assists. She's not leading or even in the top 10 in any other statistical category. And aren't we supposed to evaluate all-star games based on what you are doing now? And she's been out for half the games due to injury. Not her fault, but she's out due to injury. What do you think of Dick Vitale's comments? Starting with you, Saphyr.
Well, and Chris, look, we grew up, so to speak, on Dick Vitale on the East Coast. Big East basketball, ESPN. You got to give us your diaper dandy impression. Come on, hit it one more time.
He's a diaper dandy, PTP, Dipsy Doo, Dunkaroo. That's Dick Vitale. That's it.
My gosh!
And I see Irie holding his ears, because a friend of mine once told me that he got on the show, the truck, the production truck, everybody's holding on to their ears. So I love Dick Vitale. I mean, I like his insight on the game of men's basketball. Along, him and Al McGuire always gave you the street side of basketball for white guys. And so that's one thing.
They knew the game. They grew up in the game. They coached. I mean, that whole part of the country has a whole other historical ecosystem of excellent players, right?
Right.
And so when I hear what you have recounted that Dickie V said, I think first, I respect him. That's the way that he sees women's basketball, Caitlyn Clark. I don't recall a time before, like when the league started, that he had any thoughts to share about the league or players in it as well. So maybe he's had an awakening of some type. I don't know. But for me, I think, who is the entity or who are the people that are voting? If it's the players, then yeah, the players are going to want to look at stats, right? And say, hey, apples to apples, this is what I feel about this player, right? Being elevated to this game. If I'm a fan who wants to see Caitlyn Clark, regardless of if she's only played half the season or not, because there's something about her brand that I identify with, and I just want to see her. She's what drives me to go to the events, buy all the condiments, buy the merchandise. We're talking about two different things. So I can respect his viewpoint because, look, he's qualified, must be close to 90 by now, right? He knows the game. So
Right.
without knowing if he's coming from that perspective, my thoughts are on, she is so relevant to the WNBA. It doesn't even matter if she's playing or not. She is the face of the WNBA.
Irie, your thoughts on that?
I'm fatigued. I'm sorry.
Thank you
I'm
very much,
fatigued.
Irie. Go on.
Nah, really. It's
Yeah, go
it's
ahead, man.
it's not Caitlin Clark. I love Caitlin Clark. I love her game. It's the outside voices. It's the entities. It's the people that could care. It's the people that when you told them that you watched the WNBA for 5 minutes, they laughed at you, and now they're suddenly invested because of this one player that they care for and so interested and in love, and they want to see her get all the praise, and when she doesn't, they feel a way about it. The woman was first in All Star votes by fans. The fans love her. Like
Yep.
Saphyr says, she is the face of the league to the
Hmm.
fans. Her being in the face of the league at the moment, I would disagree with. I would still say Asia Wilson, Brianna Store by a close second. But right
Right.
now, to the fans and to the casuals, the newcomers, Caitlin Clark. That's it. No different than back, respectfully, back in your day when when if somebody asked who the face of the NBA was, it was Larry Bird or Magic Johnson. You don't even know anybody else. One or the other. Faces
The
of the
casual
league.
fan.
She was
Right.
exactly. Clark was third in votes by the media. Media gives her praise. The people watching silent. The box score watchers. Surprise,
Right.
surprise. It's the WNBA players that were the All Star votes. She finished ninth in All Star votes by WNBA players. I'm not the most surprised. She's doing well, but this is still a time in which she's only in her second year, so she's still having to prove herself in the eyes of the players. That's no different compared to any other young player who has come in, All Americans, Candace Wiggins, Skylar Diggins, and that's just naming other All American guards from college coming into the league just off top, who had to come in. I'm sure went through the same amount of physicality, play, and everything that within adjusting to the league and wanting to earn the reps and really get their feet wet. Because when it comes down to is the players that say, all right, you've really earned your keep in the league. And she just hasn't gotten to that point, but it doesn't mean that she will not. But I think it's ridiculous to raise hell suddenly, and now you want to say like everybody's a hater because they're not her. And not saying that there isn't, but I think we still have to keep in fact that this is a pro league. Everybody is playing like everybody. This is how everybody feeds their family. There's pride
Hmm.
on the line when it comes to this. So
Right.
they're not just gonna bow down to somebody, young and hot popping a young hot shot coming into the league. They're gonna make her earn it. However that may be, that's subjective. But they're gonna make her earn her place in the league. And right now, I mean, at the moment that we're recording, the Fever are up right now on the Aces. Now they just won the Commissioner's Cup versus the Minnesota Lynx. Caitlyn Clark has been out with a growing injury.
Mm-hmm.
Keep in mind, at the time that we're recording right now, they're going to be 9-8 by the time that we're done. Half of those 8 losses came with Clark actually playing. She only played 9 games, but she's missed some because of her injury. So half of the team's losses have come even with her playing. So what does that say to you? I'll leave that in the air. And lastly, might I say, just within a compare and contrast, should we have had the same amount of outrage for LaMelo Ball with the NBA, who at one point led all the fan votes, but wasn't an All-Star in the end because he didn't get much by the media and the players? Should we have the same outrage for that? Somebody who was getting 25 a game, all-around game. This is before the injury, I believe, but because he didn't get enough votes from everybody else, he wasn't an All-Star. So we have the same amount of outrage for him. Somebody that the fans love. Somebody big on social media, I know through my brothers and their friends. Should we have the same outrage for that?
Yeah.
And let the choir say yes.
Amen. Amen. Amen to that. Because here's the thing. I'm looking at, and Irie, you're absolutely right about that. Because here's the thing, though. The players, game respects game, as you all know. Game respects game. And it's not that anybody's disrespecting Caitlyn Clark, but come on, there are other players in the league. I mean, another player, I'm going to talk about Angel Reese, my homegirl from Baltimore. And she's averaging, she has a double, she's averaging a double-double, and she's leading the league in rebounding in her second year. Yep. And my thing is, and I think she's cool in this situation, not being in the spotlight, but she's doing her work as a player, and she's playing her role fine. I mean, granted, Chicago is struggling, but at the end of the day, game recognizes game. Caitlyn Clark gets her accolades, but she's still a relatively young player. But before it's said and done, she's going to be one of the top players of that era on the court, and she's going to ultimately win the respect of her peers. It's just the fact that I think that some of the women in the league are saying, "Look, you've overlooked us, the male-dominated sports media. All these years, you've overlooked us. We've been playing hard. We've had great players, and because of this whole infatuation with Caitlyn Clark, even in the announcement of Philadelphia getting an NBA franchise, it's the Caitlyn Clark effect. And I mean, come on, man.
It wasn't there. They wasn't there, Chris. They wasn't there when Houston had the 4P in the late 90s, early 2000s. They wasn't there during the Diana Taurasi era. They wasn't there when Gabby Pondexter had 30 in Game 3 versus Indiana in the 2010 first round of Eastern Conference playoffs. They wasn't there for that. They just got here.
I mean, matter of fact, they were getting on me, Irie, back in the day. I still remember after Maryland beat Duke in the national championship. You watch women's basketball. I mean, that's the thing when I see this stuff. That's the thing that just bothers me. I mean,
I'm curious, Chris. I'm curious. The people that were asking you that question, was it men or women or a combination of both?
It was men. It was a couple of white guys, a couple of guys that because here's the thing. I covered girls' high school basketball. And I covered some college. I mean, I covered sports. I mean, men and women. I've always been an advocate that we should cover our girls just as much. And that goes back to when I covered high school sports. But the thing is, my thing is I've always liked the game. The game is always the same. They're great players. Nobody, nobody went after Cheryl. Nobody said Cheryl Swoops was a great player, or Candace Parker, or people like that. I mean, they were good players. Sabrina Ionescu is one of the best. What about Lane Deladon? They were some great players. And now because the male-dominated sports media wants to somehow, be the broke. It was almost like during the steroids era, they got mad at Jose Canseco for breaking the news before they did, and that's what that was all about. I don't want to get into that, but I'm just saying, at the end of the day, you guys basically laughed off women's sports, women's basketball, to the fringes of the sports pages when people actually bought actual newspapers and whatnot.
You know what? I gotta say, I asked you that question because anymore, what I see are the sons of that generation who are now the fathers of these WNBA players include former NBA players like Brad Sellers. You know, his daughter Cheyenne's playing out there in Golden State. Who was the quarterback, former quarterback of Alabama? Barker, right? I think his name was Jay Barker.
Yeah,
He used to be the starting quarterback for Alabama. His daughter, Sarah Ashley, I think Barker is her name, is playing in the league. So there has been from, I'm going to say, Chris, actually our generation, an evolution that includes, when we say athletes, it's not gender specific, right? And these women can ball.
Right.
When I think about your Dawn Staley from North Philly and her track out of North Philly, college, into the league, and now a coach, look, for me, she's ready to coach an NBA team.
I'm going to tell you something about Dawn Staley. Dawn Staley is ready to be the next Jerry West, the next Pat Riley. She's a Red Auerbach, because no one, and my column is coming out tomorrow, no one has built, has built.
Thank you for posting those on our social medias, gentlemen. Thank you. Okay. Go ahead, Chris.
No one has more experience at evaluating talent and knowing players, how to build teams, than Dawn Staley. I mean, and she says she wants to come in as an owner. If coming in as an owner, riles her competitive juices, because she didn't want the job at Temple at first before.
Okay, so she's right. She's thinking beyond coaching, which
right. And that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about when I say Jerry West. I'm talking about Jerry West as a as a GM, and Pat Riley as a guy, as a president of basketball operations. None of those people. All of those people have done more, and Red Auerbach too, because Red Auerbach was a coach, he was an owner, he was a GM. That's Dawn Staley's power. That's her superpower. She knows talent. She's coached at every level. At every level.
Staley, you join the Cleveland Cavaliers organization, please. We need a general manager. Thank you.
Oh my God. Okay. Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's our shameless plug for.
Please, I'm begging. I'm begging. Ain't no plug. I'm begging.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Dawn Staley has that kind of power, or could have that kind of power as not only as a coach but as a GM, part owner. She knows the game. No one knows women's basketball better than she does. She's played basketball. Yeah. She's won at every level. Had it not been for some breaks in a national championship game against Stanford that went to overtime, they might have won the national champ. As she would have won it as a player. She's won 3 times. She's taken 7 teams to the Final Four. She built Temple. I was there for the Temple years. 180 wins, 72 losses, 6 trips to the NCAA tournament, 4 A10 titles, and what? No, I think it was 4 trips to the NCAA tournament and 6 A10 titles. I got it mixed up. But the fact is, she took a program. She made Candace Dupree, who was All-American, who's now coaching at Tennessee State. Yep. This is where Dawn, if she gets that opportunity, that's where she doesn't have to be a coach. She can be the person bringing in other coaches. She can do that. And so, like I said again,
nice segment, Chris. Nice segment.
And I gotta say, we gotta okay. Oh yeah. So, like I say, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna wrap up this segment. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Locker Room Readout on the BGC Sports Network.